Hi guys, welcome to Archetype Insights with me, Sharon Dane. It's a tough call for me. I'm going through a very difficult time in my life, dealing with cases and child issues, so a little down. However, today the insight is all about myth. Okay, let's just talk about myth. What is myth? It's just a preconceived notion in your mind. Lack of clarity, lack of understanding the cause and effect. Um, we tend to become mythical. When we're born, we are blinded with illusional thoughts, okay, and stories. The mind, like if you just look at the evolution of the mankind, it is all about living in the group, in the society, growing up within that group and systems. And if that system is protecting you, helping you, and enhancing you, or developing you as a person, then that is the best. One moment, it's just. Alright, so we move in that particular direction of liking, that systems and ideation. But myth is something deep rooted. It's a belief system which can make you as a person tomorrow. It rules the world, the perceived notion about your environment and how you would consider the relationship pattern, the behavioral pattern, the ideologies holded with that. And the myth, sometimes it's very positive, but sometimes if the myth is very too controlling, those myths doesn't have any good for you. There's no development in you. So you need to observe what mythical ideologies that you are holding in you that is constraining you to become the very person you want to be. Where your souls are not aligned, where your mind is not aligned, it's not structured, where you are in a pre-notion about delusional belief systems and building up that pattern of reconsidering upon, what others believe is a truth, wherein the myth can also be testified. It can also have its own cause and effect, understanding. So when I was growing up as a child in my home, I knew my granny used to read about Mahabharata and Ramayana, and it is a huge story. Okay, it's like when she read about the stories, I just go to sleep. Okay, on her lap. But I really like the concept about morning prayers and the concept of becoming so very pure in your mind, and always pray to God and always deliver yourself to them, and they will take care of you. Because that's the myth, right? It's a myth, but you need to observe from the pattern of mythical concepts that when you give yourself to some kind of deity forms or to a person, what illusions are created in your world and your mind. If that illusion is taking you towards positivity, then that myth has its own gravitational force and understanding and belief system to make you involve with them and grow up with them. But if certain myth is controlling and restraining you or restricting you in some way, shape or form, and holding you back by asking them to go back and deliver back to them, and this kind of myth need not to be encouraged further. Like I'm in a state of Kerala where there's a lot of people come with the different illusions in the mind, okay? One of the cases happening right now in my home, wherein the Christian ideology is widespreading across the society, and they believe, surrendering to Christ is supreme everything. Hinduism is not considered to be the importance over there. Wherein I would say no religion can hold you, can they? It's up to you whether you follow or you don't follow it. But what is the point when that myth and ideation is not for the God? When you call as a God, you need to see something, because that's the human mind. We are always instinctually child-like, people. We always have child in us, inner child in us, and the child always wanted to see their mommy's face or their daddy's face, right? And they wanted to see how my mommy look, and they wanted to know how my daddy is, right? Similarly, is a pattern of myth and mythological ideations is that this inner child, if cannot be seen anything, it's just power driven, it's something illusional world. Is that, if you don't do this, then you would be repaying that, okay? And he knows everything. So who is he? There is no face in it, okay? It's just a blind belief, okay? So I would say always testify your mythical concept. Can we do that easily? We say we've been following it and nothing is wrong in it, and all the religion is saying. Wait a minute, I'm not talking about the religion in here. I'm talking about your belief system, whom you idolize, whom you believe into, whom you surrender yourself into, whom you give yourself into. That is what you need to have a close proximized study into, right? You need to have a test of all these notions and understand what is the cause and effect of it. Whether this mythical ideation is helping you to develop, to make you evolve, to make you productive, to make you help to love each other, help to generate goodwills for others. If that myth is becoming, encouraging you to do something in the light of God, helping you to know what is the right way to do and what is not the right way to do, or certain myth is controlling, is purely based upon power driven struggles and power drives and energy flows, nothing you wanted to know, and egocentric. If this kind of a mythical ideation is where you are bound to be with, or you are bounded with, or probably you are influenced with, then I would say stop before you head towards destruction, because this mythical ideation can be of a various form, okay? Now if you talk about God, okay, God is always light. You talk about Hindu religions or deities, it is all about positivity, okay? Every god and deities, if you talk about even Greek mythology, they also have a different people with a different character altogether. So you need to testify what this character is symbolizing for. So if I used to have an ideation towards Lord Krishna or Vishnu or Lakshmi or probably Lord Shiva, they all have different character to play. They all have certain role in your life. So when you call them, when you worship them, it automatically change you to understand you cannot be that. You have a limitation to become that, because the limitation is purely based upon your good nature, your character, your capability. Okay, so if I wanted to idolize about Durga, okay, so she's full of positivity, she's full of anger, and she's full of righteousness, okay? So when you talk about the myth about Lord Shiva, right, he's supreme, the creator and the destroyer, and the knowledge driven, okay, the height of knowledge, right? So if when you talk about Lord Vishnu, it's all about duty and karma. When you talk about, Lakshmi, it's all about wealth, beauty, prosperity. When you talk about Lord Krishna, it's about, you know, building the relationships, right? A relationship pattern within the clan groups or within the family, two different families, and loving, caring, and learning how to play, and play to the extent that you take the entire world in your hand. Okay, so every deities and every mythical ideational figure has certain role and character, and you wanted to understand, do you fit into that character? And when certain myth is more, there is nothing to see, there's nothing to hear about them, there's no character, it just blindly located into a certain place of, encouraging them to, only pray, where there's no face, no statue, no body, then you're making yourself into an fugue state where there is no comeback. And in the fugue state, there is dissociative pattern which you can observe in your personality, wherein you doesn't understand in your fugue psyche that who is doing good for you and who is not. And this mythical ideation can encourage your ego to move to such an extent that everything becomes dark for you, and you are dissociated completely into that mythical ideation and the thought process, that it can encourage you to go to a great extent and forget about your consciousness and your identity, okay? And you doesn't know who you are then, and you doesn't even know whom you're talking to and who that person is for you in your life. Why I have to raise this issue about myth and insights about the myth is like, we are humans, okay, and human by nature is striving for success, is striving for food, shelter, power, money, and wealth, and many things like that, okay, some for knowledge. Myth, which is only for power, money, and craving for something, and what you want you will get it, those myths are, in my understanding, is not good, okay? And the myth which help you to understand the character, either you portray the character or you identify that character as your someone, as your mother, father, or even, because no human's gonna stay in your life forever, no siblings will stay with you, and no relationship is going to make any sense for you. These mythical creations and creatures, or probably created ideations about certain figure, is what gonna take you forward, okay, in life. Because if you know you don't have anyone, or even if you have everybody, you still know your God is there to listen to you, and you are giving yourself to your God. Early morning when you pray to the God, you surrender yourself to the God, and the God takes care of you. So that is kind of helping you to learn each and every step in ordinance with someone far beyond your understanding, far beyond your capability, and far beyond your imagination, because they can be your mother, father, or your child, or probably the you, okay, may never know. But if an ideation or a mythical understanding can help you to learn and develop with them, that's the one, okay? Learning what? Learning not what they have did or what they have did. Learning about life. Learning about each and every step of your life, how you can perfect, how you can encourage people, how you can leave the mark in the mind of the people, what action to be taken, how to act, how to handle. These are the myths can guide you, right, to handle in certain fashion, because it's no difference than you and me. When I can listen to the ideational figures like Christ or Mary or anyone, even for Allah. Okay, why to leave Allah? What is Allah all about? I don't know whether who calls or who knows Allah, the truth of Allah. I'm not talking about the counterpart, okay? Every god has its own counterpart. So if you talk about the god of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva, they have their counterpart like the snake, okay? Sometimes the serpents and the snakes is very important in our life, so that we can evolve, so that we can move out, right? And this kind of like, bodily exhibiting desires or needs, or wants, and has to always go up, okay, like that. And sometimes if you idolize about Lord Vishnu, he is always protected by too many faces of snake, the big serpent, right? Why? Because he's always protected. Like anything happens to him, nothing can happen to him, no one can touch him. So in some places they worship the snake god, okay, but these are counterpart. In my understanding, there's nothing positive about snake, is it? There's nothing positive about them, but they are creation. They are created by God, okay. What is positive ideation is, what do Lord Shiva teach you? The harmony of the mind with your soul and body, okay? The recreation of life, the path towards supreme knowledge. The best teaching with Lord Shiva you can get is meditation. Know your soul, know your mind, know yourself, because every life he rules on it, because every life is his own creation, and every death is his own destruction. What you know about the deities of Parvati? Well, she is the extreme, the perfect woman, the most ideal housewife, okay, and the best mother ever you can get, with a lot of love and care. Where the counterpart is the goddess Kali, which means she is there to destroy everything. Whoever comes in her way, she cannot see anything. In her anger, she will cut their head. Okay, the only thing can stop is Lord Shiva. So every ideation has its own importance. And when you talk about Allah, when I was, driving through in the cab with my friends, some of my Muslim friends used to say, all the God is one. Okay, so don't change your concepts about, who's good and who's wrong, and don't discriminate any religion. So I would never discriminate anybody. And he said to me, in our understanding, we don't have the picture of God in our in our home. We just know the worship is for the light. And yes, I had the best teacher in my life for cancer care, and he was Muslim, and he came from Canada. He was a psycho-oncologist, and I've learned a lot from him, and he never taught anything about religion. For him, the service to the mankind, to the society is everything. And he was the best teacher for me for psycho-oncology, for cancer care. And trust me, I always admire him in my heart. And the person is so good, that he's so loving, caring for the pets, He go to the agricultural land, he does the agricultural thing, and during the weekdays he used to come and attend the medical oncology, and he worked for the NGOs in his part-time during the evening hours. And whatever he does, he throw it out to the society. So he asked me one question: is your research is all about for you and your pride and your certification, or is it for the society? And I said, maybe for my certification. So he said, no, then I don't want to work for you, or I don't want to be part of your project. If it is for the society, please, I will be always there to help you, and always my door will be open to you. But if it is for you, I will not be there. Okay, so that is the identity of a myth is all about. Myth, if the myth teach you I, that is me only, it's a wrong myth. And if the myth teach you listen carefully, understand, grow, develop, grow each and every day with them. It doesn't really matter. You're always the child in the hand of God. That is the right word. Okay, Allah for me, in my understanding as a clinical psychologist, Allah is a supreme knowledge. When I used to sit for my examination, I get a lot of issues for my examination, all kind of an examination, my final examination, or any kind of a test or work. I don't know, just something happens that I would be always aligned with a lot of issues and problems and distractions, and I probably cannot get along with it. Okay, so when I call Allah, I get my peace of mind and I can focus, and I would succeed in it. I succeed with good scores and no distraction at all. So Allah for me, in my understanding, is cutting out all the destroying forces in your environment, and showing you the path towards knowledge. Allah for me is nothing but light. Allah for me is nothing but beauty. So Allah for me is also listen to do good for the poor people. Okay, is a giver. He will never be with the people who is rich and then who call Allah. He will never listen to them. I don't think so. He will listen to them. He will always listen to the people who are poor, and when you give to them, He will open the path for you in your mind, in your heart. That is Allah. So every good myth teach you follow the right path of knowledge, being wise, growing up every day in discipline, controlling your anger, overcoming your ego, and workshop. Because work is a workshop. Even when you leave, you have to work, and that is a workshop. When you sit and do the mantras, that is also workshop. It's a service, it's a workshop. So always workshop your work, worship your good family, worship your children for their good things in life, worship for your duties in life towards your elder people, worship to do good, to speak good, to write, think good. Always worship that you, your pets, your surroundings should always be protected. Always worship that the people who support you in your dire times, they should have a lot of peace and goodness in life. They should always be in a lot, and blessed by God. I used to admire a lot about Mary and Christ. Oof, I'm like dragged into this disharmonical thing about Christian ideology, about Protestant Catholic. The myth about Protestant is they don't worship Mary. And the myth about or they believe only who you are is the Christ is everything. Okay? Who is a Christ in psychology? If you wanted to understand, or if you wanted to know who is the supreme psychologist or the perfect psychologist, is Christ. And Mary is more for the mental health. Mary is someone who has a face of sorrow, and who has a face of wisdom. In her eyes, when you look at, you can see the heaven, truly the heaven, because she's a woman who never disobeyed God. She's a woman giving birth to the God's child, and God has chosen her in her womb, the child to be born, because for a reason. If she was not a sinner, she doesn't have any crave for anything. She was a hard-working woman. She was always obedient with her community. That's grace, right? So she can always teach you how a graceful woman should be. And when some woman would say, like, we don't worship Mary, and there was this Protestant people, they came in my home, and then the lady of there, she actually burned the Mary's picture. How dare she could do that? That's the myth what they hold in their mind, in the heart, of extreme power, of extreme supremacy, overruling onto anything. No right myth will teach you to overrule on someone. Every myth, right myth, will teach you to obey and develop and grow each and every day along with them as a good person. Okay? And never harm anybody, and never be disobedient to anyone, and never say that you are everything, because that is egocentric. There's a very deep, in-depth understanding what Sigmund Freud have showcased about ego and superego. So if you talk about Christ, it's like a superego thing, right? When you go into the superego force, don't know where you're going, heading towards. But why you have to go with ego or superego? When your id is with yourself, it's about controlling your ego, managing your ego and superego, and aligning you towards your soul purpose, towards your mind, towards your rights, small little rights. Your id is all about hunger, desires, thrive, right? And when you wanted to fulfill that, you need to know that you cannot be mother of everyone. Who you are, you're still a child in the hand of God. Even if you're old, of 60, 70 years, you still remain as a child in the hand of God. Like, I remember my granny. My granny used to be like 100 years. She touched almost 100 years, and she lived such long years in her life. But I always loved the character what she was. She was a single mom, and she was a great woman. She always idolized Lord Shiva, and she always used to pray during the evening hours. She never said, I'm everything. I'm the great granny. So, granny, so you all have to listen to me. She never said that. She always obeyed other people. That is the difference between the right myth and the wrong myth. The wrong myth always teach you to dominate on someone, to overpower someone, and to curb onto somebody and rule on them. That's the wrong myth. The right myth will always be obedient, will always grow in life, will always listen to others, will always like to share their stories, like the Christ used to do. He used to teach children pebbles. He used to teach the life in general through certain diagrams or analogy or certain parables, so that mind of the kids or children or even the youngsters, they all are his children, to learn with the story how you should be, what you should learn, and how you should be acting, and what lessons you have learned. So, in my understanding, the Christ is the most or the perfect psychologist. Mary, for me, is the heavenly mother to whom we all have to surrender. And whoever goes against Mary, I would say, like, in my opinion, no woman can be of that level, of that height of grace, beauty, wisdom. If you look at her face, full wisdom, isn't it? Well, that's something which I wanted to showcase to you. Identify what people's myth and mythological ideational path can lead you up to. You got an instinct, we can always test. In clinical, we say always test and retest and understand what comes out of it. So, if the myth or mythical figure or pattern or ideation or belief system helping you to feel like a child, that's a good myth. If that help you to give life to others, that's a good myth. If it help you to walk in the path of the truth, that's the good myth. If it help you to enjoy and be happy what you have, it's the right myth. If that brings you the grace and peace and prosperity with small little things, if you can feel or touch the life in little happiness, that's the right myth. And if the other myth is something, the counter myth is all about grabbing money or pulling more people into you, or or laughing at someone, or indignifying someone, then you are with the egocentric people, and such people would be most dangerous in life. So understand, if you feed your ego to the great extent, it can only be destructive and can never construct your life. And because of this ego, there's a lot of psychological problems are, born into or being fed into, like psychopathology, like crimes, and like what do you say, dysfunctional patterns, and killing, harming other people. It's all because of we enter into terrorist clans. It's all because they feed in the mind of the innocent people the concept of ego. Work with your ego and you will succeed. Okay, so I was watching a movie of 9/11 attack, and even before they would attack onto the tower, or they are taking the flights down to the land, they've been praying to God, because in their ideation, their goal is to reach to God, and in order to reach to that goal, they're taking many other lives along with them. Okay, so that is the wrong mythical notion. Feed it in the mind, in your soul, to such an extent that giving life is not a solution at all. In the name of Christ, so many African people, they ask for, surrender to God, surrender to Christ, and give your life to Christ. No, God is telling, no, Christ wants my given life to you to be given back to me. No, He wants you should always live life on earth, because after life is only spiritual life, and there is no body in there. You are a spirit. So He don't want that you should die. He don't want anybody should be killed. He don't want you to, call anyone to join my clan groups. He don't want you should harass anybody. You don't want any child to be away from the mother, or speak lying and get what you want. You don't want money from you. You want your hard work and hard-earned one penny. That is gonna fulfill him. Okay? And he want that walk in the path of him, not to follow him, not to blindly call him. He don't want that. He want people to follow his path, and that path is good. You understand? The path of truth, the path of value. He never said he will never worship, he will never respect Mother Mary, who she is. She is no one to him. I am the everyone, everything. No, he got magic in him. He was changing people's life. Do you understand? But every time he does that, he go back to his mother's place, and that's Mary's home. So I'm in a state of Kerala where a lot of differences been created in the mind of people, and people who doesn't worship Mary, I would say, then you're not worshipping the creation itself. Okay? So if there is no creation, then what you are, you have no identity in you. So in my point of view, the insights on myth is all about test and retest. And when you test, if you can see the path of the truth, if you can see the grace of light, if you can feel the happiness in your soul and peace and harmony in your surrounding, that's the right myth. And the wrong myth is something which is dark, something which can burn you, something instigate your ego to act. That's wrong. Identify by yourself, test and retest always any mythical figures or personalities, because they come along with them a story, and they bring a character to be imprinted in your mind and your soul, okay, deep rooted within your belief system. So if you don't want to become a wrong character, always test your myths. Okay? Until the next insights, this is Sharon Dane.